Targeting in dog training refers to teaching a dog how to move a specific part of their body towards a designated target location in the environment. If that sounds general, that's because targeting is a foundation skill that can be used to teach a wide variety of different behaviors. For example, the first kind of targeting that we usually teach is a hand target, where we ask the dog to move their nose into the flat palm of a person's hand. However, you can also teach paw targeting, where you ask the dog to teach on a tape square on the floor. You can teach hip targeting, where you ask the dog to move their hip into a wall, or chin targeting, where you teach the dog how to hold their chin in a person's hand for an extended duration of time. Different kinds of targeting can have a wide variety of different purposes, but we often start with hand targeting because dogs will naturally want to investigate things with their noses. If we teach the dog to move their nose into a hand, we can begin to connect this idea of following the target to different locations, turning in different directions when the target moves, and moving at different speeds as the target does. When the dog understands how to follow the target, we can start to teach a wider variety of behaviors. If your dog has a long history of hand targeting, then you can skip our touch tutorial and move directly ahead to see how you're going to play the tag game with your dog. If you're brand new to targeting, then watch our touch tutorial next to see how exactly you can teach your dog to understand a hand target.
To begin teaching touch, first hold your hand about 8 to 10 inches away from your dog's face. Mark as soon as they make contact and then reward.
Yes. Yes.
When your dog is consistently touching your hand, you can add the verbal cue, touch.
Touch. Yes. Touch. Yes.
As your dog is successful, practice with your hand at varying distances. Presenting a smaller target can be more comfortable for smaller dogs, while a flat, open palm might be easier for larger dogs. Touch. Yes. If your dog already knows the cue for touch, we can turn it into a fun game of tag.
Touch. Yes. Touch. Yes. Touch. Yes.
When you ask your dog for a touch, keep your hand steady. The dog should be moving his head towards your hand rather than your hand moving towards the dog. If your dog hesitates to touch your hand, try one of these following options: rewarding when they look at your hand, rewarding when they start to move towards your hand, rubbing your palm with some stinky treats to entice them to move towards your hand, and taking your hand away and then resetting.
Touch cue can be a really helpful way to ask our dogs to re-engage when they are encountering distractions. Whenever we're asking our dog for targeting behaviors, it's really important to remember that the target should always stay in one location, and the dog should be the one who's initiating contact and movement. Again, it's a good idea to think about what your dog finds distracting in normal life and incorporate those specific details into your training session. Start off slow, ensure that they're responding to your touch cue when you ask for it normally, and then start to build your distractions up a little bit at a time.
Rachel begins
Touch.
by asking Fredo for the
Yes.
touch behavior while he's sniffing something that is natural to his environment. As he's successful, she'll increase difficulty by using a snuffle mat with some treats inside of it. She asks for the behavior again
Touch.
and marks some rewards when he's successful.
Yes. Now you don't want to.
Now, Rachel will work with movement.
Yes.
She begins by just wiggling the toy a little bit and marking and rewarding when Fredo successfully performs the touch behavior.
Yes.
As he's successful, she ups difficulty by now moving the toy around him
Touch.
and at different speeds,
Yes.
and moving it for a longer amount of time before asking for the behavior. Here, she tosses the toy, completely releasing her control over the toy,
Yes.
and then asks Fredo for the behavior. If your dog is unable to perform the behavior, decrease your
Touch.
difficulty.
Yes.
Once he's successful, you'll be able to slowly increase difficulty again. If your dog is really good at this game, increase your
Touch.
difficulty
Yes.
by practicing in different locations and with more distractions.